And welcome back to the Behind the Dunes podcast. I'm your host, Connor. Today, I am here with one half of the LaCoe team, Gloria LaCoe. Gloria, how are you?
I'm doing great today. Who wouldn't be on this beautiful day here on Hilton Head?
It is beautiful. I wish it was just a little bit warmer like it was over the weekend.
It would be nicer.
Yeah. So, Gloria, how long have you lived here on the island?
We have been here permanently since 1995.
Oh.
Yeah.
And let's take it back. Where did you grow up?
I grew up outside of Worcester, depending on where you're from, Massachusetts, which is about 20 miles west of that, right smack in the middle of the state.
Oh. How long did you live there? Did you stay through college or?
No, as soon as I grew up there, and actually the house that I grew up in had been in my family for centuries. You know, it was one of the oldest houses in our town that had always been in our family. When I turned 18, because it was this little small town, I was just like ready to go. And off I went to college and actually I returned back to visit, but did not live back there. So
Okay.
Moved kind of to the western part of the state.
Okay. And where'd you go to college?
I went to Holyoke Community College.
Okay. And did you go for any specific study?
I did. I majored in music.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh, let's talk about that. What type of music?
I started majoring in flute, then I switched to piano, and I did that for 2 years, and then kind of exited college and started my work career. But still have all that music background with me. So.
Do you still play?
I still play handbells, I still play piano, I still play flute, and I still sing in the choir.
Multi-talented. That's more than I can do. I can't even sing. So, well, when you started your work career, what did you start off on?
Well, actually, my very first work career was at college, and I kind of did their work study program.
Okay.
You know, back then it helped to lessen tuition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I started with office work. And that's kind of really where I have been most of my career, office work, customer service type of, yeah.
So then where did your path take you after that?
My path then kept me in the Springfield, Massachusetts area for another 20 years.
Oh.
Doing various office work and that sort of thing. It was close to my family. I have 3 sisters. 2 still live in Massachusetts and 1 in New Hampshire. So it was kind of, nice to be around family at that time. And then I met Alan. And life changed.
How did you meet Mr. Allen?
Well, I knew you were going to ask that, and it's an interesting story. We both worked for Simmons, the bedding company. Mm-hmm. And I was the customer service manager at their plant in Springfield. So we would have local bedding shows. Mm-hmm. They'll have the big ones in High Point and all over the country twice a year. But the smaller mom and pop shops, just don't have that opportunity to close up their store to go to these big furniture markets. So the companies would go to these areas, set up a hotel room with their beds and bring everybody in, and would bring the local customer service people in there. So as Alan and I say, we met at a bedding show. And we'll leave it at that.
That's funny. Okay, so then going forward,
Yes.
What was the path for you guys after you met? So you're in that industry together.
Correct. And we kind of did a long distance relationship because I was still in Massachusetts and he was in Atlanta.
Okay.
But traveling all over the country with work and that sort of thing. So we did that for probably about 9 months, and then we just decided, you know what, we know this is going somewhere. I left my job with Simmons and moved to Atlanta. So
that was my next question of how you found your way down south.
Down 95 to 85 to 75.
So how long did you guys live in Atlanta?
I lived in Atlanta from 90 to 95 when we moved here.
Okay.
Alan lived in Atlanta from 1974 on probably 3 different times because he kept getting moved to another part of the country and back. So,
right.
Yeah.
So then how did you guys find your way here from Atlanta?
Well, Alan actually had property here that he purchased in 1989.
Oh.
So my first visit here was to his lot, and the very first thing that he said to me as we were coming over the bridge was, "Welcome to my island." So he said, he always said when he retired he wanted to come to Hilton Head and sell real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So life goes on. In 1992, we built a home in Palmetto Dunes and used it as a second home, with this being the closest beach to Atlanta. It was an easy trip down. I'd come down. Alan would fly in on the weekends, and we'd do whatever and kind of go our ways from there. And then in 95, he had decided he had had enough of the corporate world and just said, I'm ready to move on. So that's when we moved here permanently.
Into Palmetto Dunes?
Into Palmetto Dunes.
Okay. So second home became first home.
Second home became first home, right.
Okay.
From 92 to 95, it was the second home. 95 on, until 4 years ago, it was our primary residence. Since then, we have moved to Hilton Head Plantation.
So when you guys were in Palmetto Dunes in the early 90s,
Yep.
how has the transition of the island been in your eyes from then to now?
A little crazy. Where our house was in Palmetto Dunes, we were kind of back from everyone, and no one really rented their property short term.
Right.
So it was nice and quiet, knew your neighbors, all that sort of thing. 5-minute walk to the beach. It was just, wonderful. And then things started changing when a lot of people started buying a lot of real estate. And just for cost purposes, the houses in our area were a little bit less expensive. So if people could afford that, that's where they buy. So we just really kept getting a lot more short-term rentals on our street, and it just got a little crazy.
Palmetto Dunes sometimes in the summer.
In the summer, yes,
Can
it
be-
is. Yes, it is.
Can be a little wild to navigate.
Yep. As we say, sometimes vacationers tend to leave their brains at home. And we understand because we've been on vacation and we've done the same thing. So
100%.
Right.
I'm guilty of it too.
that's right.
So at what point did you get your real estate license?
We both got our real estate license actually in 1997.
Okay.
When we first moved here, we didn't have health insurance. So priority for me was to get a job that we could get health insurance. So
Right.
I worked at Lewis Sterling Carpet, which is no longer around. Sterling still has his division, and did receptionist work there. And then one day there was an opening for another receptionist in a real estate office. So I thought, well, I can probably do this. So I went over to 99 Main Street. It was Prudential Real Estate at the time. Got the job as the receptionist. And then as I sat there and watched all these realtors going in and out and listening to conversations, I thought, well, I can do this. So got real estate license and became an assistant to Jackie Riggins, actually.
Oh,
Who we now end up are in the same company this many years later, 25 years later.
What a coincidence.
We're back in the same real estate company. So, and once I started doing that, Alan and I just said, you know what, we can do this. So that's when he had been doing some consulting work. Actually, he was up in High Point for a high-end upholstery company as president up there. But it was, leaving here on Sunday afternoon, coming back on Friday, and it's like, this is just crazy. This is not kind of why I wanted to retire.
right.
So that's when we started our real estate business together.
And where did you guys start?
We started at Prudential, and we were there for, I think, 2 years.
Okay.
Then we ran into Bill Baldwin, who was then the broker in charge. We knew his parents and that sort of thing from church, and met him actually one Sunday morning, sunrise service on an Easter Sunday. And we just started talking to him. He's like, well, why don't you guys come talk to me a little bit? So, which we did, and he did hire us to come back to Dunes. I think we were probably there about 10 years. And then I'm pretty technology savvy. And I just felt at that time that Dunes was not going the direction, technology-wise, that I felt was going to benefit us.
Right.
So we left and went to another company with the promise of that's what it was going to be. Well, that kind of did not pan out. So we came back. At this point, Daniel was now broker in charge at Dunes and just had a really, really good feeling when we went back to talk to him, and been there ever since.
Well, we're happy to have you.
Thanks. Glad to be there.
So when you guys first started out, how was that transition? Because like you worked in a real estate company, but not actually doing real estate. How was it actually transitioning into selling? Did you find it difficult? Was it was it quick to grasp?
It was quick to grasp. Sorry about that. And we love the island. Coming here as a visitor, which is where most of our clients start out, you kind of have a little insight to that. It's like, okay, I've been there. I understand. Just knowing the questions to ask. And with Alan's business background, he helped me tremendously with that part.
So JR, he shouted you out in the last podcast saying how active you are in the community. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. We feel very fortunate to be able to have moved here when we did. My family we were a poor family, and I just am feeling very fortunate right now. So I guess there was any way that we started out hearing a need for people, we just kind of went that way. Probably the first thing that we started to do was the community Thanksgiving dinner. And that was 25 years. It'll be 25 years this year that we've been doing that.
Wow.
So big party this year on Thanksgiving at Hudson's. From that, just the people that we've met, and you just realize, Alan was instrumental in starting the soup kitchen at St. Andrew by the Sea 14 years ago, and that's still running today. And just that was really, really powerful in terms of knowing that there are actually homeless people here and talking to them and finding their stories. So, and through the Realtors Association and being on their community outreach committee, I learned a lot of stuff that goes on in the community. So the different groups like Deep Well, Bluffton Self-Help, just if there's a need, we just try to help out.
It's really cool to see because people see, or I see at least, there's a lot of realtors, not necessarily Hilton Head, Bluffton, but just in general, you see like on the internet that do things, but like they're just doing it for the publicity.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see that you guys truly care, not just about the people, but the community here.
Correct.
It's very heartwarming.
Well, thanks.
And like, I really appreciate everything that you guys do.
Well, thanks.
So
thanks.
It's
Yeah,
cool.
we've been on, Alan's been on the board at the Children's Center. I've been on the board at the Boys and Girls Club. Just all kinds of stuff.
So how did you guys start the Thanksgiving dinner at Hudson's?
There was an article in the packet, our local newspaper, the day after Thanksgiving in 1998 saying, lonely locals have no place to go for Thanksgiving dinner. Because back then, no restaurants were open.
Right.
And because Thanksgiving and Christmas are so close, if families are going to be together, they're going to be together over the longer holiday of Christmas. So there was a lot of elderly people here that just had no place to go and would love to be. So we met with Betsy Dowdy, who then was the executive director of Deep Well. Brian Carmine's the owner of Hudson's. Alan, and there's a couple other people, and just said, what can we do? And Brian graciously said, my restaurant's not open. You're welcome to use that. Alan said, well, I'll go to St. Andrew and see if they can financially support this. And they said yes, they would pay for the dinner. So to this day, it is still a free community dinner that is funded mainly by St. Andrew by the Sea United Methodist Church. This past year, we got a couple of other local churches involved just because of costs of food and that sort of stuff. So to make it really a truly community event. And all the money that is donated that day is given to Bluffton Self-Help, Deep Well, and Second Helpings, which are all two social service agencies and food rescue programs.
That's awesome. How much have you seen it grow since you first started doing it? Like,
Well, the first year was kind of interesting because we had no idea how many people were going to show up. We did all this planning, had all these meetings, had all the food cooked, and at 10 o'clock we looked out and there were people sitting there. We said, okay, this is going to be a good thing. So I think the first year we served 500 people.
Wow.
We now serve 14 to 1,500 people, and we used 300 volunteers that day. So, yep, and you just wait in line. It's served family style. You sit at a big table with other people that you don't know, which kind of stirs up conversation.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful meal. It's a wonderful, wonderful meal. Probably one of the funnest positions we think is what we call the host and hostess. They're kind of the grandma and the grandpa from your family Thanksgiving dinner. They sit at each end of the table and make sure a conversation is started. So
that's awesome. That's a really good idea too.
It's powerful. And even to this day, I mean, thankfully Hudson's, there's so many other restaurants that are open now on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And they still have continued to say, no, we need to do this. That's who they are. That's who the Carmine family is.
Well, shout out to the Carmine family.
Absolutely.
And if people listening want to get involved, donate, how can they?
CommunityThanksgiving.com.
CommunityThanksgiving.com. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other endeavors?
Let's see. What do we? Oh gosh, lots of stuff.
Let's talk about it.
We're still involved with the missions at our local churches. Mm-hmm. I've done mission trips to China, Panama, Belize. I mean, Alan and I have probably taken 10 mission trips to Belize. So probably a real special one was when we did one with our oldest granddaughter who came with us. Just a powerful statement and how it impacted her, when she came back home. So, and with that, I always say to people, Hilton Head is kind of a bubble. Mm-hmm. And especially if the kids growing up here, if you have an opportunity to do a mission trip, do it. Whether it's within our country or out of the country. Because you come back here knowing we have to do something. Mm-hmm. And that's probably really what continues to spur us with that. The other cool thing is with the Boys and Girls Club, because we started volunteering. That was probably the first volunteer position that we did when they were over in Sandalwood. Mm-hmm. They had a little 2-bedroom apartment that they worked out of, and I think they had 30 kids that would come after school. Now they have the new building, and there's 300 kids, plus kids that come every day. But some of those kids to this day that are still here, work here and stuff, will be in the grocery store, will be at a restaurant. It's like, Mr. Al, do you remember me? And this is 25 years later. So it's just really cool. That's when you really know that you've made an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet that's got to be it's got to feel pretty good.
It does.
Heartwarming.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it really is. It really is.
Wow.
Yeah. Children's Center, because you've been there, you took pictures. Alan loves to play Santa to the kids there. Mm-hmm. During COVID, he was on the board at that time for the Children's Center because when they started opening back up, every morning he was sitting there checking the temperatures of the kids. He's a really we both are very active board members in what we're involved in.
And then the St. Patrick's Day Parade as well.
Yay! Yes, coming up soon, March 17th. And we heard this year the Clydesdales are going to be there actually. So that'll be pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you guys were the Grand Masters, was it 2 years ago?
We were Grand Marshals in 2020. We're known as we're known as the longest running Grand Marshals. We got 3 years. We got 20, 21, and 22 when they finally had the parade. So it was because literally the day before in 2020 was when the world at least the United States shut down.
Yep.
It was on Saturday. The parade was supposed to be on Sunday. So.
I remember that.
Yep. Yeah. So, and that's, it's just a lot of people will say, well, do you have Irish heritage? I'm like, well, yes, my grandmother was Irish, but The grand marshals here don't necessarily have to have Irish heritage, as they do in a lot of the bigger St. Patrick's Day parades, but just what they do for the community, is probably the biggest thing that they pick them for. So, Alan and I, if there's a rec center event, like one of the festivals, like this past weekend, we had snow day. Yes, we had snow on Hilton Head. And it was 60 degrees out. But we volunteer there. Just any volunteer opportunity we see, we'll try to fit it in our schedule.
It's a busy schedule you guys have.
It is, but it's fun.
How do you guys have the time? Because you're like still very actively selling real estate.
I am. Actually, I was working on an offer this morning. That's why I was a few minutes late, so I apologize.
Like, how do you guys manage?
Well, when your husband is your partner, it's called 24 hours, 7 days a week, type of thing. But you kind of block out time, like this morning when I left, I said, I have a meeting I need to come to at 10, and, fill in that calendar, and you can work with any schedule once your calendar's filled out and you know that it's there. Because
you guys are like still very like reachable. But yet you're still doing all of this stuff. I would be going insane.
We are. Even when we're traveling, we're reachable. So thanks to technology. Good and bad. But we also know, too, that we have people back here that can help us out when we're gone.
Yeah. Where was the last trip that you guys took?
The last trip that we took was Italy last year, which was a really fun trip. Our oldest granddaughter graduated from college. Yay, Keegan! And we had told her that we would take her on a trip. So she chose to go to Italy, which is one of our favorite places. We've been there 5 or 6 times. So we flew into Venice, took the train to Florence, and took the train down to Rome. Did not rent a car, did vaporitos, taxis, walking, all that other kind of stuff. So, and just to see this traveling world through her eyes was we made memories that we'll never forget.
That's awesome. I'm assuming she had a blast.
She had a great time. She's ready to go back.
Where's the next trip you guys are going on?
We're actually leaving in August to go on a 15-day trip, going from Amsterdam to Budapest on a river cruise.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I've wanted to go to the Netherlands for the longest time.
Yeah. Actually, I was in the Netherlands in 1974. Which would be the year I graduated from high school. Our community band that we were in, typical New England town, grandstand in the common. We would do concerts on Sunday nights, like kind of Sunday in the park type of thing. And they put together an exchange program where a band from Holland came to visit us in 73, and in 74 we went over there.
Well, that's pretty cool.
And actually stayed at people's houses. And to this day, I'm still really good friends with the family that I stayed with.
That's awesome.
So it's fun. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Are you going to go see them?
Depends. I'll let them know when we're going. So, just kind of depending on the schedule of the boat and all that kind of stuff. So we haven't done our airplane tickets yet to work all that out. So, but, yep. And probably another really memorable trip that we did is both of our granddaughters have been adopted from China. And when the youngest one, Caden, was being adopted, we actually went over to China for the adoption to bring her back home with her then 10-year-old sister. So that was really cool.
That is cool.
Really, really cool.
So how many children do you guys have?
Alan and I do not have any together. He has 2 grown children.
Okay.
So I have 2 stepchildren.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was that going over to China for that?
It was awesome. I mean, for us, it was easier than their mom because their mom had to do all the paperwork. I mean, it was a process.
I believe that.
It took a long time and a lot of paperwork to get that done, but it was powerful. Powerful. Again, just to see another country and to be able to say to these girls, I've been with you on your homeland, Because actually the year before that, might have been 2008, I had done a mission trip to China, a women's mission trip to China, and did an extended stay and went to Beijing, and that's when the Olympics were in China.
Oh, okay.
So my oldest granddaughter said, I asked her what she wanted. She said, I just want something from the ice palace, because, or whatever, the ice box, I forgot what they call it, that building there, so type of thing. And I thought one of the reasons that I went on that trip was because I thought I'd never be able to go back, and then there I was a couple of years later going back to help bring her younger sister home. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you like China?
Interesting. Just because I got actually by doing the mission trip and then doing the adoption trip, two totally different scenarios. I mean, the mission trip, I was literally walking up mountains to get to the tops of little villages up on the top, sitting with women on these little chairs, trying to help them with financing and all that sort of stuff. Whereas when the adoption, it was total city stuff. We were in the middle of the city, so.
Yep. How did you find the difference, like, culturally from the U.S. to there?
City-wise, they're a city. I just don't think there's that much of a difference because it's really kind of an international city. So a lot of things, there's a Starbucks, there's, all that. There's McDonald's, there's all, that kind of stuff. The first trip was totally different. Totally different. Just kind of seeing their plight.
How did you find the food?
Well, we always found an American hamburger. The mission trip was interesting because we ate their food, like sitting at the big circle thing in the table and watching it and going, I'm not sure if I want that. But I would try it. So, but always had peanut butter and crackers. So,
Was there anything that you tried that you were like very surprised, like, wow, that is actually really good? No.
I probably would not have tried it if I was even ever thinking, am I going to like this?
That's fair.
We'll pass.
There's been some things in Mexico that I've eaten that I was like, thank God you didn't tell me what that was before I ate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not have tried it.
Yeah.
But some of the things ended up being pretty good.
Well, and just walking through the markets in those countries is just so different. Everything is outside.
That's actually one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Going to Mexico and just like walking around and shopping in different places.
Yeah.
It's very fun.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. I like experiencing different things.
Yep.
Yeah. So, excuse me. Are there any other philanthropic, is that the right word, philanthropic?
I think that is. That's the word that I always try to say and always mess up. So thank you for saying it.
Are there any other philanthropic endeavors that you would like to talk about?
Just kind of the ones, not specific, but just look around. If you're listening to this, just look around. There's lots of stuff here. And just what I find interesting is to really find out how these different nonprofits got started. Like the Children's Center. It's the second oldest nonprofit on Hilton Head. And how that got started. How Deep Well got started. So Second Helping's a food rescue program. And I think if you can do that, you can really see that even though they were started so many years ago, some things have not changed, in terms of healthcare and food and especially housing.
Do you want to talk about housing a little bit?
In terms of affordable housing or just real estate in general?
Ooh, we could go into either of those.
We could, and but yes.
Do you want to talk about affordable housing?
Just there's a need for it. There's a need for it. It's kind of, I think being in the business that we're in of selling real estate, we can kind of see both sides. And it's kind of hard, because you have people that want to be here and that's their dream. So you'll help them with that. And it's probably going to be expensive properties. And do they need to have a rental income to do that? So, with that, the costs just continue to go up. On the other hand, you say, and then all these services that we have, we want people to live here. And affordable housing to me is kind of, you really have to, we can make all these plans of what we think we want for affordable or workforce housing, but you really need to talk to the people that are going to be living here to see what their needs are.
I feel like there's a lot of people who come up with plans without doing that.
Correct.
Yeah. And realistically, like you said.
I think we should do this. I think we should do that for them. Well, you're not in their situation on a daily basis. Yeah. Yep.
How do you think we could go about coming up with obviously talking to people, but like if you were to take, in an ideal world, if you were to start kind of like planning that, what would you do?
Probably the first thing would be public transportation.
Couldn't agree more. There's what, like the breeze?
Yeah. And even the breeze in the summer, it moves around the island for all of our tourists. What about the rest of the year, and what about moving our residents around that way? I mean, just take when I talked about going to Italy. I mean, we never rented a car. Went to Portugal, to Lisbon and Porto, never rented a car. Did public transportation. You can do it.
You can do it.
So, and I think that would just help tremendous for people to get here to work, have reasonable transportation.
It's crazy too, because most of the people who actually work here don't necessarily live on the island.
Correct.
You Bluffton, Hardyville, Ridgeland.
Correct. And, as Bluffton grows, it's just going to keep moving further out, and Hilton Head's kind of the end of the line. So.
That's true.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing that I would say to start. And then figure out if there's pockets that stuff could be built, or have some of, when Hilton Head was first developed, all of your planned unit communities had areas that they purchased and used for housing for their employees. Hilton Head Plantation, it was within the plantation. They're now all traditional real estate sales. Chimney Cove was actually for Palmetto Dunes employees. Now that piece of property is getting sold, and you have all these people that are getting moved out.
See, I didn't even know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So
Sea Pines has gone ahead, and they actually have built a place for some of their employees. So I think they're starting to pick up. J.R. Richardson with Caligni's has done some real estate for some of the hospital employees, traveling nurses, and that sort of stuff. So they're getting there.
So do you think expanding like bus lines, or like expanding Breeze to have, do you know how many buses Breeze has?
I do not.
I don't either.
I don't.
I've only ever seen like one or two, but
Yeah.
I'm not actively looking for
Correct.
it. So beyond expanding public transportation, what do you think, hypothetically, your step 2 would be?
I'd probably have to get involved with the town a little bit more. Because, again, I know there's things that I'd like to do, but can it be done?
Right.
Just in terms of, with the town being incorporated, having their zoning and all that other kind of stuff. So
I got you.
Yeah.
There's more to it than just
there's
that.
more to it. There's more to it than saying, there's a piece of vacant land over there. I think that it should be built here. If you go to, thankfully through our Realtors Association, a lot of our professional development sessions, we'll have the mayor come in and speak, town manager come in and speak. And I learned a lot of that stuff. They'd come with a map and say, people think, well, why can't you just build workforce housing here? Well, you can't, because when the town took that property, there were stipulations with that. So, and just working through all that. And I think they're doing the best they can to move forward with that.
That makes sense. I kind of fall into that, like, hey, why can't you just do this? Without actually in my head thinking like, oh, there's probably some reason behind it.
Yeah.
So that.
Just get on Nextdoor.
Oh, no. I will never. I did it once and immediately had to delete it.
Yeah,
There's just, for me, like in my neighborhood, there's just too many petty complaints about things that there's bigger issues.
Yeah, it's like, really?
Yeah. Oh, somebody left their Christmas lights up for an extra week.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's a topic for a different day.
That's right.
Where do you see the future of the island, Bluffton, etc., Lowcountry going?
In, I think, a good direction. I think because, you know, Hilton had kind of set the bar for what this area could be. And that has been continued on in Bluffton. I think it's moving further towards Hardyville with kind of the plan unit developments and looking at community as a whole. I think there's a lot of positive things. I think we've got, how can I say it? I think the town is running very well right now. You know, I think if you look back when the town was incorporated and plans that they came up with, and still have clients that will walk in and say, oh, I came here, I was here 40 years ago, and there was lots of trees. And I'm so impressed to see that there still are. So there's things that they've set up that they will not, no matter what, break or try to work around and that sort of thing. And it's a great area. Everybody wants to come to the south, so it's gonna keep growing.
Speaking of trees, we lost during Matthew like 50,000 trees, and like you almost can't tell, except in like certain areas. It's insane.
I say it was God's way of helping us trim the foliage, which probably did need to be done. So yeah, and I remember after Matthew, you drive down the street, and it's like I felt like I was lost because you had certain landmarks, and it was like, oh, I need to turn here. It looked totally different. So fortunately, we didn't have any damage. Some of our clients did, so that was kind of our first trip when we came back, even before we went to our house. It's like, okay, let's go check on this house as we're going around. So, and then helping our clients through the process of getting through that.
Knock on wood, hopefully we don't have another one of those anytime soon or ever again.
That's right.
Yikes.
Or at least in my lifetime.
What is the future for Alan and yourself?
Well, I mean, at this point, Alan is kind of, I won't say exiting the business. I mean, he'll always be my partner. We'll always have his license. But he's done a whole other big career. He's just ready to do more of the community stuff that we kind of were able to do before we got really, really involved in real estate. So me, I'm just going to keep moving on. You know, I just say real estate is a business that you can continue to stay in, just at what level you want to keep it.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. You know, with being in the business over 25 years, most of our business now is our sphere of influence, which is kind of a nice way to be able to do that, you know. And just with our community involvement, a lot of people know us, so they'll call us. So, you know,
as they should.
As they should. So if they want to buy or sell, give us a call.
Philanthropically,
yes.
Where do you guys see yourself expanding to, if you're going to expand?
We would love to do more mission trips. So I think, but physically, as we get older, it's just harder to do. Because to me, physically doing it is the best part. So hopefully, financially, we can just help a lot more of those nonprofits. So it's probably going to be more financially than actual work. But they always call us to fill in and do stuff, whether it's a gala or whatever, and connections that we have, helping them with, you know, auction items and that sort of thing. So,
do you guys have anything coming up?
They're just the rec center stuff that's coming on. We got Wing Fest, all that stuff that's coming up. So,
what is Wing Fest?
Oh, Wing Fest is down at the new park down at Caligny, put up by the rec center. It's actually buffalo wings, and it's a big contest. They have a wing eating contest. It's a whole big day. And the cool thing with those events that the rec center puts on, you normally have to pay an entrance to get in. And the proceeds from those events go to their scholarship fund to help the kids that can't afford some of their programs get into those programs.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
So it's really cool. Yeah. And the new rec center building was actually one of the things that I was involved in. You know, they had one small building, and probably, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, actually they completed their brand new building, which is just amazing. If you haven't been over to the rec center, you need to go there. They've got the walking track up on the top, all kinds of classes. They've got a swimming pool that's heated, and right now they have the dome over it, and there are always people going into that swimming pool. If I go in the morning to go work out, there's all these people walking with their bathrobes around them going to the pool. So, but it's just kind of fun to see. It's just really great to see how the community stuck with the rec center and that they're using the facility that's there.
We'll have to throw that on the books to go do a video tour of it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There, and also they have a senior center.
2 videos on the books.
2 videos on the book. So
there we go.
Yeah. Great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you would like to talk about that we haven't touched on?
No, we talked about our grandkids, which are always fun to talk about. Our travels. I mean, we love to travel. We try to do a trip every year. You know, this last year we went up to Maine, which Alan had never been to that part of Maine, even though he's from Pennsylvania. He always wanted to go see the rocky coast of Maine, so we did that this year. Got up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to see the sunrise on Cadillac Mountain.
That sounds amazing.
Up at Acadia National Park. Except there was no sunrise that
Oof.
day.
Oof.
And it was the only day that we could get up there to do it because you had to buy passes to get up there. So, but it was still pretty. Just didn't see the sunrise up there because supposedly it's the first place on the East Coast where you see the sunrise.
Ah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a national park. So probably more traveling around the country.
That is one of the worst feelings, especially as a photographer, when you go someplace and you're like, oh, I'm going to take a photo of the sunrise.
Yeah.
And you plan it all out.
Yep.
And like you think the weather's going to be good.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're there and it's cloudy.
Yeah.
Or it's raining or something.
Yeah.
That happened to us when we were in San Francisco.
Yeah.
We woke up like 4 a.m.
Yep.
for the sunrise.
Yep.
And we get there and it's cloudy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very upsetting.
Fortunately, in Alan's previous career, we got to travel a lot of the country when he was working. So, we've seen quite a bit. So,
How many states have you been to?
I've not sat down and figured them out. Most on the East Coast, most on the West Coast. We actually did the covered train ride across Canada. That was pretty cool. Then we took a cruise up to Alaska from there. Probably the Northwest, like I've never done Wyoming and all that kind of stuff. So probably at one point would like to do the national parks. So now, because when you reach a certain age, you can get a lifetime national park entrance.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Which went to fill out online because when we went to Maine, we wanted it for Acadia National Park.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, how can we do this lifetime thing? Well, you had to go to a national park to pick it up. It's like, okay. So I Googled closest national park to Hilton Head, Fort Pulaski, which is only about 45 minutes from here. So that was kind of cool because we'd never been to Fort Pulaski before. So, and we are now lifetime national park holders.
That's awesome.
So
we're actually going to Montana in September to hit up Yellowstone and all of those parks through there.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
I like being outside.
Yeah. So if you want to get your year pass, you can get that at Fort Pulaski.
That is good to know. I'm going to make a note of that.
Instead
Thank
of
you.
waiting until you get up there, that way you have it. So you just put it right on your car and you're all set.
You're a savvy traveler, Ms. LaCoe.
I try.
So where is someplace that you haven't been that you would love to go to, whether it be in the U.S., another country, somewhere?
Australia and New Zealand. But I don't know if I'll ever get there, but it's
a long plane ride.
It's a long plane ride.
I don't know if I'd ever, like, as much as I would also like to go there, I don't think I'd want to sit on a plane that long.
Yeah. Probably one of the coolest ones that we did was we went to Portugal, and my grandparents are from Portugal.
Oh.
So it was just kind of cool to kind of go and learn some stuff about their homeland. So
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Portugal's on my probably top 3 places that we need to go next.
It is. The people are so nice and relatively inexpensive, even to fly into. So keep that in mind.
More work from home people move there.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Darn. By the time I get there, it's going to be expensive. So we're going to jump in now to the only scripted part of this podcast. It's basically this or that. I'm going to give you two options. Mm-hmm. You get to pick between one of them.
Okay.
And if you'd like to explain why, you can. If not, we'll move on to the next one.
Okay.
And then we will have our funny story portion.
Oh.
So.
Funny stories.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully you have something we can think of quick. But
it depends on who it's funny on.
Hey, it's real estate related. So.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Beach or boat?
Beach.
Would you like to expand on that or no?
Just I love walking on the beach.
Walking on the beach is very nice.
You know, and no matter where we go, we try to go and walk on the beach. So, yeah. I'm just nervous about, well, I can give you a funny story while we're talking about that.
Go for it.
When Alan and I got married,
mm-hmm.
we had our house here. So part of our honeymoon, we got married in Massachusetts, honeymooned in Newport,
mm-hmm.
and then spent time here, back at our house here, and just said, we're just going to do tourist stuff, you know. So we decided to rent a canoe in the lagoon system in Palmetto Dunes. I had never really been in a canoe. We didn't get too far. Alan's like, pedal this way, pedal that way. We're going into the side. And it's like, so that was a good way to start out a marriage. So you will not see me in the lagoon system in Palmetto Dunes in a canoe or a kayak.
The first time I ever went kayaking when I was a kid, I want to say I was like 10 or 11, and we went on like a school trip to in Maryland, one of the places around the Chesapeake Bay. And they're like, hey, we're all going to go kayaking. And I was like, this is probably not going to end very well. Yeah. And we all get in the kayaks and start paddling. And I kid you not, within maybe 10 minutes, like 5 or 6 of us had capsized in the kayaks. And the rest of the day was very cold and wet.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So you will also never see me in the lagoon system in a kayak or a canoe.
We got it. We'll just cheer from the sides.
Exactly. Steak or seafood?
Oh, seafood. Especially here.
Okay. Favorite restaurant for seafood?
Hudson's.
You know, I'm not surprised by that.
I mean, it is just, they got those boats there they do not charge those boats to dock at the dock.
Really?
But they get first pick of everything that comes off of that boat. So it truthfully is the freshest seafood that you will find at any restaurant.
It is probably the best seafood, too, that I've had.
Yeah, it's not a lot of people like, oh, that's just, touristy fried. It is not. Their chef there now is doing a phenomenal job with their menu.
For sure. Yeah. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of seafood in the world. Yeah. But, like, that place has made me like seafood a whole lot more. Yep. And I'm not just saying that. It's good.
A nice little secret is that on Sunday mornings they do brunch.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people know that.
See, I'm learning new stuff.
Yep. Sit on the dock and have your brunch and look out over the water. It's beautiful.
It is. It's also an amazing location.
It is. It is.
Like, it is just, it's a beautiful spot.
It's a gorgeous spot. The sunsets, just everything.
Yes. Golf or tennis?
Oh, golf.
Good answer.
Golf, yeah. I was never played tennis. And golf, actually, I didn't start to play until I met Alan. And then, funny story with that is a couple of times when we played, and we'd play with friends when they came down here, and I was actually getting a little bit better than Alan. And we were not married at the time. One of our first friends says, you should be playing customer golf with Alan. I'm like, why?
That is funny.
Yeah.
We are a golf biased podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, or at least I am.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Actually, we belonged at Dolphin Head for a while. When we had the time to do it. And then when real estate got so busy there for a while, we just didn't have the time. So we just said, you know what, even having this membership, it's just crazy because we didn't have the opportunity to play very much. And then business slowed down, and we just didn't have to spend much money to play golf anymore. So, but I still go out and play for different charity events and that sort of stuff. So,
Do you ever play in our employee tournament?
no.
That's a long day.
Yeah. Those tournaments can be long. Long but fun. Long but fun.
5.5 hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. We're going to go into what is the funniest thing that's ever happened to you during a real estate endeavor, whether it be transaction, house showing, open house.
Ooh. Gosh. That's a hard one. I can't think of anything really funny. I'm sure if my clients and customers are watching me, they can tell me something really funny.
So, like, somebody had an inspector fall through the roof. That's not really that funny, but somebody else, like, was showing a house, and clients wanted to, had to bring their dog, and they opened the door, and the dog just bolted right in and went to the bathroom right in the middle of the floor.
Oh, no.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Nothing really that memorable
Darn.
has happened. I don't think. Sometimes when the property's rented or stuff, or you try to get an appointment and you walk in and there's people there, but...
That's happened to me more times
yeah.
than I would like to have had it happen.
Yeah, so that's not too funny, but it's kind of embarrassing for them and embarrassing for me because it's like, well, I made plans to go see this. Let's reroute here. So
okay, we will edit this question. Have you had a transaction that has meant the most to you? Like all transactions are important, but has one stuck out to you that it was really impactful?
Always with first-time home buyers, and a couple of them this year actually that were really important to me is one of my best friends here. Her daughter, who grew up here and went to college, went to Houston, lived in Houston for a while, decided she wanted to move back here. So I was able to buy her home here. It wasn't her first home, but it was home to come back home.
Right.
Her best friend, who I mentored when they were in youth group at church, I helped her buy her first home. So that's pretty cool. And then the other one this year, I had another friend who lived in, well, you know the case because your wife was actually the other agent. This woman had been in this condo since 1989 and moved to be closer to family, but it was hard for her. I was glad that she thought enough to, help me with her transaction for that time. She was one of the first volunteers for the Heritage. So it's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Are you excited for the Heritage this year?
I am, except for I probably won't be here for the weekend because my granddaughter has invited me to go wedding dress shopping with her. That's much more important than watching a golf tournament.
100% agree.
That I can watch on TV. So,
well, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. It's going to be fun. Yep. They got engaged this past Thanksgiving at our house. And their wedding is going to be November 16th of this year.
Well, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
Super happy for them
We're
and for you guys.
Yeah, we are too. So,
well, that's awesome. Yeah. So, as we start to wrap this up, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to talk about?
Just, in terms of one of the things that our clients appreciate from us is that we know the community so well, whether it's houses or just the community. As we always say, we can find you a house. We've got to find you the community that you want.
For sure.
I don't know how many clients have been coming for years, and they've always been going to Sea Pines, and that's where they want to buy. But the more I talk to them, they're probably going to want to be in Hilton Head Plantation because they want a more residential community. So getting through that process, and then they'll come back and say, gosh, you were so right. We're so glad that we listened to you. And just how many of our clients really have become good friends. One in particular, he met Alan at an open house and found out in conversation that they were from the same part of outside Scranton, Pennsylvania, and they actually were at a college at the same time.
No way.
And just never knew it yet.
I mean, this island's small, but that's pretty
really
crazy.
Small, yeah. Or this past couple months ago, I had a walk-in at the office and started talking to these people, and they're from, Northeast Pennsylvania. Oh, where from? Alan's from Scranton, blah, 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 blah. Named the street that Alan grew up on.
No way.
Literally, his family was like 10 streets down from
No
them.
way, that's crazy.
Yeah. So we just tell people, it is a small place,
Yeah.
and you just open conversation. You're going to know somebody from somewhere.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Where was I? I ran into, I can't remember where I was, but I ran into the guy that owned the locksmith shop at the corner of the street I grew up on in Maryland.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to him. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm so-and-so and so-and-so. I'm like, that name sounds so familiar. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, where are you from? I was like, oh, Timonium, Maryland. He's like, oh, that's where I'm from. I own the locksmith shop.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's on the street I grew up on. That's insane.
Yep.
And just like some of the people you meet, like,
Yeah.
it's a small island, but like it's very small. Like,
Correct.
You're gonna run into somebody.
You're going to run into
from
somebody
somewhere.
that you know. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's
That's
crazy.
Right. So, but just and then getting back to, I just think a lot of our clients will then say, "Thank you for knowing so much about this. It helps us to get involved."
Yeah.
So.
For sure. Like there's a lot on the interwebs right now. People, with realtors. You guys, you and Alan, you truly care about the people, the community, and it's a joy to see.
Oh, thanks.
And, I'm really happy that I get to work with you guys.
Thanks. I'm glad you're working with us too.
So, yeah. And as we wrap this up, where can people reach Alan and you?
You can reach me on my cell phone, 843-422-0433, or info@LaCoeTeam, LaCoeTem.com.
And if people want to get involved in helping out,
Just give me a call.
give Gloria a call. All right. Gloria, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks. This was great, Connor.
And thank you for listening or watching the Behind the Dunes podcast. Again, I'm your host, Connor, with Gloria LaCoe. Have a great day.